Hey, Rachel.
Is it a good morning, Liz?
It's a good morning.
Okay.
It's a good morning. I have been waking up so freaking early just because I don't know why my body is like, it's time to wake up. Yesterday I was up at 4. Today I was up at like 5, which is fine, but I was like, sometimes I just want to sleep a little late, but
Yeah, I get it.
doesn't happen.
Well, I've had weird on off night sleeps. Like last night I slept okay, but I was like wide awake at 3 and tried to get back to sleep
Yeah.
semi successfully. And then the night before I did not sleep well at all.
Oh,
So, but then like the nights before that I did okay. So it's kind of like on and off. I
yep.
also I also had the freakiest dream last night.
You did?
Yeah. Um,
What was your dream about?
oh God. I had cancer. It was great.
Oh my God. That's fucking horrible. Oh,
Yeah. It was
I have extremely vivid dreams and I can remember everything about them when I wake up, and it's terrifying.
yeah. I have a dream journal. I keep it by my bed and
Okay.
then it's big enough. It's like this huge, like almost like a sketch notebook.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes, not all the time, I'll just wake up in the dark and sketch something out in the dream.
Okay.
Like I'm awake, but I'm remembering what it looked like. So I'm doing it in the dark, and then in the morning, I remember it more vividly.
Uh-huh.
And then it's really interesting to sketch from dreams. So you
I
remember,
bet.
if you remember dreams, you remember details. So you
Yes.
don't you don't need to like be a good sketch artist or anything
Right.
because the details are already in your brain. So all you have to do is put it on paper, which is very different from trying to like replicate something else.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Anywho, um, how's your week been?
It's been a good week. It's been a busy week. Um, went to the hospital yesterday. Um, Roommate 2 called me and said I'm in labor, and I said, really? And she said, yes. She's like, I'm in so much pain. And of course, if it's your first baby, you don't
Yes,
know how
Hicks,
much
Hickston,
pain it actually
Braxis,
is.
Hickston. Yeah.
Yes. And so, anyway, I said, well, can you drive? And she said, I don't think I can drive. And I said, okay, well, let me come get you. So I canceled my afternoon and I went, which I forgot a couple people, but it's okay. They texted me and were like, I'm on
Where
my
are
way. And
you?
I was like, oh no, don't go. I'm not there. So anyway, but I had to so we went there for a couple hours. They monitored her contractions. They were about every 15 minutes, 15, 20
Okay.
minutes. And they weren't like hardcore.
Yeah.
So they checked her and she was starting to dilate, which is like a good sign because she
Good.
has not been dilated at all, which is crazy. But anyway, so she's due officially today, tomorrow. I don't know. But the
Dang it, I
doctor
lost the
thinks,
bet.
huh?
I lost the bet.
Yeah, me too. I said the 22nd because I literally thought she was going to have it early, but she didn't have it early. Um it's probably going to be late. The doctor said the 5th, but last night she texted me again. She's like, they're 5 minutes apart. And I said, well, please wait until what the doctor said, because the doctor said, because I told the doctor, I said, can you please explain to her like when she should come back?
Yeah. Don't they
So
do that automatically?
no. So she said, when you cannot walk or talk through a contraction, and they're about every 3 to 5 minutes, then come back. So she texted me last night and she's got this little app on her phone that's a contraction tracker. So
Sure.
she did that, and the thing said, you need to go get ready, start gathering your stuff to go to the hospital. And she said, I feel like I can still talk through contractions though. And I said, don't go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So I said, I will keep my phone on if you go in the middle of the night and they admit you, then call me. And
Great.
nothing happened. So I'm assuming she finally got to go to sleep. But I think it's coming any day. So
Good.
I mean, eventually, but I bet within the next couple days she will
Yeah.
be having my number two grandbaby. Super excited. I can't wait to see what she looks like.
You're
Oh,
having my baby.
yes. Yes, I'm excited. Um, but yeah, so we'll see what happens. I have a full day today and tomorrow, so if they come today, I'm gonna have to be canceling my day again,
That's
which is
okay.
okay. I have let most of my clients know. I won't say all of them, but most of them know what's going on. And I'm like,
Sure.
listen, I'm gonna schedule you, but if something happens, I will
Yeah.
not be there. So anyway, most of them will wait for me. A couple of them will try someone else and then come back to me and realize why they use me.
Yeah.
At least for
Absolutely.
haircuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
I
had a
have a
couple of
story.
clients
I have a
that
story
when I
about
had
that.
my surgery went somewhere else and they came back to me like within the last couple of weeks and they were like, "Oh my gosh, nobody listens." And I'm like, "Well, that is what I think that's a very typical thing of barbers is that um people will tell you what they want and then the barber does whatever they think would
Yeah,
look.
I think that's true too. I have
Yeah.
the same issue like with my clients. So I
Uh-huh.
had a I had a gal. She's been with me for quite a while actually, and I'm just making coffee. That's why I'm back at the kitchen. I should take
In
off
and out.
that filter. But she went to India for like, oh, I don't know, about 10 days for a wedding.
Uh-huh.
And she was like dying. She was like, I gotta get in to go somewhere for Pilates. And I was like, okay. And so she just like Googled, she didn't ask me before she went. Sometimes they will. They'll be like, do you recommend anyone or whatever? And I was like, well, next time you go, here's what you do. You can find someone based on this. There's like
Right,
some
right.
parameters.
Yeah.
And so she went like 4 days in a row to this studio in India. And um she was like, it was a full on studio. Like they could have had like 10 people in there, but nobody was in there. They don't have classes. The guy who trained her, like private Pilates, was trained in Pilates, but his main thing was like he ran the gym. So like weightlifting was
Oh,
his thing. And
okay.
she said he would walk in and have it all set up. And then he would set her up and tell her what to do and walk away.
Oh, so he wasn't making sure she was doing it
No,
properly,
no,
like
nothing, nothing.
none
And
of the
then
things.
she was
Well,
like,
that's not really a private
no,
then. That's how I felt
no.
with my,
And then
yeah.
she said 2 of the days he was planning his kid's birthday party. Like he would be
Okay.
on the phone, like planning stuff, like, and just walk out of the room and be on the phone, while she's, just do whatever you're gonna do.
Yeah, that's so
And
silly.
I was like, well, that makes people appreciate you more when they realize
Yes, when they
your
have a bad
value.
experience with people
Well,
who
it's
don't give a
it's
crap.
your value,
Yes.
it
Yes.
upsells you quite a bit.
Yes. I felt like that with physical therapy when I went for my shoulder.
Yeah.
They literally they gave me a list the first time I went in for physical therapy of what to do at home. Well, I did those things at home. I would go in and someone would go, "Okay, we're going to put heat on you for 10 minutes." They would put heat on. And then they would say, "Do the same things you did last week." And I'm like, and then they
What's
would
happening
walk
here?
away and work with other clients. And I'm like, "Why am I paying?" And my physical therapy visits were $1,200 a visit. And I'm like, why am I paying $1,200 to do the stuff that I'm doing at home when nobody's supervising and make sure I'm doing these properly? It was very frustrating. And I don't think that all physical therapists are probably like that, but the
They're not
place
all the
where I went,
same. Yeah.
100%. So I'm like, okay. And I wasn't personally paying $1,200, obviously my
They
insurance.
charged your medical.
Yeah, but they charged my medical and I think my medical paid like over 800 of that. I
Which
was
is
like,
just
good
stupid.
God, for, an hour of stuff where they put you on a machine and walked away, or said, go do this and walked away. And I'm like, okay, maybe I need to
That's
be a
putting
therapist in
it
my next
it's
life.
it's putting a lot of value on the fact that you know how to move. I mean,
Right.
the fact that you don't know how to move is why you're there in the first place.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, what the hell is going on here? This is so silly, but whatever. Oh, I mean, the one person, I mean, I think there was like 3 or 4 physical therapists in there, but they each had, I think there was one guy that had only one client at a time. Everybody else would have like 6 or 7
Yeah, well,
at the same time. They would
absolutely.
book them like 5, 10 minutes apart. I'm like,
Oh, and so
silly.
there's two problems there. Mom and I talked about this when she was here. One is that they're probably for profit. So nobody
Oh,
who's
for
actually
sure.
a physical therapist is running the clinic, and they're just going for
Right.
money. So they're figuring
Yes.
out how can we bill the insurance the most, and we're just
Yes.
gonna let you do whatever the heck you want to do. We're gonna overprice it so that we cover our butts when you file a
Yes.
malpractice law suit. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other problem is that we're in the US, we have hyper specialized everything. So if you go in for a shoulder, they're tunnel vision and all they do is look at your shoulder. They don't look at your back or your other muscles that support the shoulder, or
Right.
right. They don't look at anything else. Same thing with doctors. So when our mom fell, like, I don't know, what was that, 8, 9 months ago now?
Yep.
And she went to the ER and she was like, my ankle hurts. What did they do? They just x-rayed her ankle.
Right. She said
That's
they
it.
didn't do like the top of her foot or the bottom of her foot or
They didn't do
anything
anything
else.
other than, but that's what they're supposed to do, is just emergency services.
Yes. Yes.
Right. But then from that point on, it's been treated as just like an ankle injury. And
Right.
it's like, no, she's got damage in her foot. She probably has damage in her hip. She probably has damage in her back, yada, yada,
Right.
yada, yada. And it's just like, yeah. And then also women over a certain age are just invisible unless you scream and yell and jump up and down. And
I know. And then you're called a Karen.
yes, or a hysterical woman,
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
That's so
sexism
true.
is rampant.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I am so dry. It's so dry here.
Same. I feel like a fucking lizard, dude.
I literally do too. I have been like putting on lotion like 30 times a day.
It puts
And
the
I
lotion
still
on the
feel
skin. It puts the
I still
lotion
feel
in the
bad.
bathroom.
I'm currently putting night cream on my hands because
Yeah.
they feel like they're
Oh, I
going to
know.
crack.
Yeah, my cuticles are just
So,
like painful. They're so dry.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh my gosh. So last night I was taking out a brisket and some chicken to thaw
Who
out for
who are
um
we?
who are we?
We haven't even introduced ourselves or the topic.
Yeah, I said, "Hey Rachel," when I
Oh,
started.
we did.
Said,
You're right. You're
"Is
right.
it a
You're
good
right.
morning?" Yes. So anyway,
Absolutely.
as I was setting the brisket down, which is rock solid, I set it and I smashed my finger in between the brisket and the chicken of two hard things. And I'm telling you, I think I popped a blood vessel in my finger and it hurt so bad. I'm like, what in the world? Like a food injury.
Food prep injury.
It's
I have a
so
lot of
dumb.
that.
Anyway.
Well, my
Oh,
week has been shit, and I didn't know if I would have my voice.
yeah,
This
you've got a
morning,
little bit of a voice.
I do. It's just still that like old smoker Madge voice.
Yes, yes.
Um, but I am like so fucking ready. I am almost done with this week. I got one more week and then finals.
Yay.
I'm so happy.
I'm so
I
happy for you.
I have to well, right now my inbox is full of students who are like, oh shit, I never read the syllabus or the requirements for this course, and fuck, I can't do that. And I'm just kind of like, so I've created a generic like response that I sort of tailored to, each student. But I'm like, so I have high standards for this course, and I am fully trusting and have faith in you that you are capable of getting to those standards. And that's why I give you these assignments and give you good feedback. And they kind of go, oh shit. And their excuses are getting better than like my grandma died. So I'm pretty sure they're putting him into like Chat GBT.
Oh yeah.
And because I'm like, oh, these are good. Like these like more believable this year. And but I'm still sending them like my standards are high.
Uh-huh.
I'm telling you that you can do this, and I have every absolute faith in you that you're gonna reach my high
Yes.
standards.
Yes.
And then they're like, oh
Amazing.
shit. But anyway, I still have a ton of grading after this week, but I won't be teaching for 10 hours, projecting into a large room of students, which is
Yay.
going to be great on my voice. And I'm going to have to make up a battle plan for next semester so I don't get this way every single week by
Well,
Thursday.
and maybe not do 3 campuses so that you get 10,000 emails a day.
I think I'm just going to, after this semester's over and like my grades are finally posted, I'm just going to go in there and select all and delete.
There you go.
No, I'm dead serious.
Yes, I think you should do that.
I'm going to. What are we talking about this week? Other
Oh
than
my gosh. Okay, so we're getting into some the basis of our book of our growing up, our cults. So we are chatting define this is independent fundamental Baptist. And then our how to is how it's kind of a how not to of Christian. The word Christian is used so loosely. And
well, it's
so many people who
it's an
claim,
umbrella. It's an
yes,
umbrella term, right? So it's
yes, people claim to be Christian and then do the complete opposite of what you would think a Christian should do. So it kind of turns you off to the whole thing of Christian. But okay, so independent. So we were raised independent, fundamental Baptist. We were born
labeled,
into, huh?
labeled,
The
labeled.
label, yes, of a cult, independent fundamental Baptist. There's a series right now. I won't say the name, but like I've just started watching it. I have experienced all of the things that is on this series, and it's literally they have video footage of the horrors that come from the pulpit and of the um aggression and the hatred and the just insanity. They have actual clips on this
Well,
like a documentary.
scare
Scare
tactics,
tactics.
control
Absolutely.
mechanisms,
Yes, yes, yes.
manipulation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it literally, anybody who watches it is going to go, oh my God, that cannot be real. Like, why would someone follow that person? But when you're in it, you do not. I will not say that. I think some people are a little shocked at the beginning. Um, if you're not born into it, when we're born into it, that's what you know. It's what you know, it's what you experience. But the definition of independent Baptist. This is independent Baptist. They're also called independent fundamental Baptist or IFB, are a closed Christian sect holding to ultra conservative. The beliefs are mainly Baptist and fundamentalist. They refuse any form of ecclesial authority other than that of the local church or the local man in leadership, honestly. Great emphasis is placed on the literal interpretation of the Bible as the primary method of Bible study. It's they're opposed to any. Where did I go? I literally lost my thing. Okay, there we go. They're opposed to any of the echo. I cannot pronounce this ecumenical movement with denominations that do not have the same belief. So they definitely are a
Their
religious
own
sect.
brand.
Yes, they're their own brand. They will not associate with any other type of churches because they are the only one. They also adhere to using only the King James Version, a position otherwise known as King James onlyism. Um, I feel like that is something that was drilled into our brain for sure, is the King James only. Nothing else is correct. Even though, and we've discussed this in prior podcasts, that there's no way that, that can be the only version, and that it was the 100% correct version. Members of the independent Baptist churches comprise 2.5% of the United States adult population, which is shocking. Now, this is a number from 2014. There may be more now. Unfortunately, it's kind of sad, but there could be
Well,
more now.
possibly, but I feel like that
Maybe people
there's
are opening.
there's there's been there's also rebranding,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
So there's always
Yeah.
a new crop. I mean, even as we historically outline what actually happened, because the fundamentals came from an early 20th century publication that was like these basic tenets of what fundamentals were. And then
Yes.
that caused them, because they were so strict, to break off from like Southern Baptist,
Yep.
Central, Southern Baptist, and like I think it was Central Baptist or something. Anyway, I didn't look it up, but then
Yes.
that caused a huge rift in the Baptist community in general, and then from there they just sprung. But see, then they went their own separate ways, because the term independent means you are not holden to any particular standard other than like those tenets outlined in the fundamentals. But then even within those, there's individual interpretation based on individual
Yes.
groups and individual people who are
Mhm.
running these places.
Yes.
And then I feel like the same thing is happening today,
Right.
where we have like, and I think they're called um like these like Awaken Church and
Yes. Yes.
Hope, Church of Hope. And then it's this massive group of people, right?
Mega church. They're called
Mega
mega
church. Thank
churches.
you. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. That's the term I was looking for.
Yeah.
But see, I feel that like it starts like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then with no real, other than like some charismatic individual lording over the thing, will eventually start to get stricter and stricter,
Oh
develop
yeah.
more and more control over these people, because power is what these narcissists crave, and they'll keep it at any cost. So they want to it gradually start to tighten to where
Yes.
it becomes more cult like, and you're looking at it going, that's not like I don't get why you're doing that. And they pretend to be something, and then I think over time, which you and I experienced personally,
Yes.
they start to shut her down and get to be more and more
Cult
restrictive
like.
and controlling and manipulative, and right,
Yeah.
because there isn't an organization, like even the Catholic Church has better, I mean, aside from their pedophiliac tendencies, um they have laws and like rules they follow, and procedure and protocols
Sure.
that keep them relatively consistent across
Yeah.
the entire globe. But
Mm-hmm.
this is like talking about like just some crazy wild hair,
Yes.
that popped up on your chin and it's 4 inches long and it wasn't there last night.
Yes. Here's some more stuff. Many within the IFB movement will claim to trace their origin to Jesus's ministry. Notice the word claim. They point out that many groups through history maintain Baptist principles and were therefore Baptist in practice, if not in name. Groups identified as progenitors of the Baptist traditions include um, Paulicians, Waldensons, Abigail. These are all really weird names, which I have never heard of. Lioness, Arnoldites, Mennonites, Anabaptists. I've heard of some of them. In the 17th century, the name Baptist finally emerged. Contemporary independent Baptists believe strict separation from the world and any church not associated with the independent Baptist name. So that was definitely a fact with us. And even the other independent Baptist, independent Baptist churches that were independent fundamental IFB. There were some of them that our particular flavor of IFB was thought that were too liberal, if you
Yeah,
remember.
so the series that came out was an affiliated organization within
Sure.
our small group.
Yeah.
However, of the small group, we were by far the most restrictive and controlling
I
and
think that's factual because there would be people that would come from other IFB churches into ours and
oh,
go,
I'm
"Oh,
friends with a lot of them still,
yeah,
and they were like, we still can't believe that they did that stuff
right,
with you
right."
guys.
Like it
And
was absolutely crazy.
they had very similar experiences, but they were like, no, 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 we could do that. Yeah, that was totally
Yes,
fine.
yes.
And you know,
I mean, it is absolutely insane and it's crazy and um I don't know that if unless you are from the outside, which my husband was from the outside and he definitely was like, this shit's crazy, right? But his brother, who was in there when he moved to Colorado, he was already involved. And his brother had changed his entire life. So, like, he was going, okay, so there might be something to this. You know what I mean? So he was a little open at the same time. Like when we started dating and he found out we had to have a chaperone, he was like, what the fuck? He was like, what is going on? Like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. And I'm like, oh, I know. But in my brain, I was thinking like I was already halfway foot out the door. Randy was my way out. So like I was like hoping that he would not get sucked in like his brother had because it was something that people do get sucked into. If you're looking for something, which is like a cult, you know, you're looking for something. And
well, they notoriously prey on vulnerable populations.
absolutely they preyed on military
Yeah.
who are used to being someone telling them what to do every day. They preyed on single moms who needed something. They preyed on
Porn.
children who were poor. Yes. Um, people who were poor.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, they had the rich people in there too. Don't get me wrong. There was people who definitely did, but they also were very predatory in every aspect of their recruiting system. So anyway, that is IFB. Like, I mean, that's a very vague description of it, but that is what we were defining today is just it's definitely something that independent 100%. um they have no lording. And I mean they say God is the person in charge, you know, but it's truly the pastor leader, whatever you want to interpret for that. So it was whatever they however they interpret it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So anyway.
Yeah, it was left up to individual like
Sure.
men, charismatic figures
Yeah, yeah.
interpretation of the basics of the fundamentals. What else was I gonna tell you?
I don't know.
Oh, I feel like I should have done that part and you should have done the how to.
Christian.
Yeah.
How to not
But
Christian.
well, I think that there's a historical definition of the term Christian, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which honestly is like the beginning, and we don't need to go down this rabbit hole, but is like basically the beginning of anti-Semitism. Um, because they claim that the Jews killed Jesus, but in the Bible it was the Romans, so technically the Catholic Church killed Jesus. And that is how conspiracy theories get started.
Oh my God, I
uh,
love it. Oh, geez.
but I do think there is like a general like there's a definition of Christian because it was like, you know, when pagans right, we had Catholicism, we had breaks from all of those. It's like a lineage,
right?
and then, but if you say, okay, well, in general, Christians use the Bible as their tenant
Guiding.
of
Yes.
ideology,
Yes.
then it's very, very different than from what we see today that are proclaiming, practicing Christians,
Yeah. I
wherein
know
you see
many
a lot
more.
of hypocritical behaviors coming
Yeah.
from people who say that they're Christian, but have absolutely not one value system that lines up with what the Bible in right tells you and encourages your behaviors to be. So they're very antithetical to what it actually means and to what that was, written down for them to follow.
Sure.
They're a far cry from that. So, and I think we see that in a lot of the extreme, religious right movements.
Well, the
Because
whole holier than thou thing, and we're better than you because we believe this, that is so not a positive.
yeah,
Like,
you're supposed to love your neighbor if
yes,
they're gay, if they're, black, if they're white, if they're poor, if they're rich, if they're from a different
right.
religion, if they're from a different place in the world, if, like if they need something, you're supposed to help them out
Yep.
without question, right? You're
Sure.
compelled to do that, or you're supposed to do that in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And I just screwed the video up. Oops. Anyway, um, yeah. So I guess what not to do is basically a lot of what we see in, mass media right now, covering like these extreme movements of hate, hate and, division and, categorizing people and putting them into boxes and violence, which is unbelievable,
Yeah.
right? That is not anything that is supposed, Christians are not supposed to be violent,
Right.
I mean, there was, people who tried to kill their kids, but that was in very specific cases and it wasn't violence against a group of people. I mean, the Jews were thrown out of right Egypt, or they were basically enslaved in Egypt, right? And then in the Old Testament, and then they were under persecution even back then, according to the Old Testament. And but they left Egypt and they came out and became their own nation and religious, two separate things. And then Christianity developed after that, which is also like, what the fuck have we done? Like, we're all human.
Christianity, it was like basically like a split from, well, no, that was Baptist from the Catholic Church. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I feel like the word Christian is used so loosely and people just say I'm a Christian or blah blah blah. And I know people who are amazing people that claim to be Christians and they truly have like amazing hearts and they're giving and they're loving and non-judgmental,
Well,
but I'm going to
that's
say
the Christian thing
90%.
to do, though. That
Yes.
is what to do is
Mm-hmm.
you are kind, right? You
Yes.
are considerate, you're inclusive, you're generous,
Yeah.
right? You're humble. You're not
Right.
right, all of those things that are found in, even like the 10 commandments if we went back that far. But that's not what we're seeing. But you're absolutely right. There are plenty of people like that,
Yeah.
but they're never the loudest ones, and they're
Nope.
not the ones who are doing these stupid asinine things to other human beings all the time.
Yeah.
But if we do look at historically speaking, I mean, more people have been killed over human written history by religion than by any other thing in our right, any other
For sure.
disease, virus,
Yeah.
um even just wars over territory. It's
Sure.
been religion that has killed more humans than any other thing in our recorded history.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself, and I know, right, with the the Palestine Israel thing right now is happening. That is all land and religion, right? And the Palestinians will not tolerate the Jews being in existence. Period. Like they have no, you know what I mean? There is no, and Hamas is just the terrorist branch of that, right? But this is not Christianity, right?
No.
Um, and Muslims, again, most Muslims I know are the kindest, sweetest,
Yeah.
most amazing, generous, kind, like humble, and would give you the shirt off their back people. But
Hmm.
again, it's like these radical, religious like spin-offs that are just, on the fringes of what it's supposed to be that
Yeah.
give, it all the bad name. And, I don't think between you and I, there's we have a torrid and taut relationship with religion in general,
Yeah.
with organized religion.
Sure. Organized religion.
But it
Agreed.
is because of those radical
Hmm.
extremist groups that we have this issue, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where we suffered, our childhood formidable years, damage from, under extreme circumstances. And we're not
Sure.
alone. There's so many groups like that across the world.
Yep.
But it is those that give it a bad name. That is the case. And I don't fault anyone who actually does act like a Christian. I mean,
Right.
I don't consider myself Christian, but I have those characteristics.
Sure.
For the most part, you and I are both kind, we're considerate, we're generous, we're thoughtful, right? We're very humble in most cases, right? And we would, help someone out if they needed it in a
Sure.
heartbeat,
Yep.
and we're both characteristically, fall under a Christian name, but I would never claim that because of all the damage that, these idiots have done who really just take it to the extreme and shove it down your throat. The other thing is, and I feel like this is relevant in our current political climate, is that Christianity is like, you do you. Like, I'm not going to judge you for doing what you think is right. And if you choose to follow a different religion, I'm going to respect that. Or if you choose to live your life a different way, I'm still going to accept you and include you for that, because that's what the Christian thing to do is. And
Right. And you're
currently,
supposed to show by an example and not, you know what I'm saying? Like literally you're supposed to um make people want to be like you instead of going, "Oh my gosh," and turning you away, which I think is so much the case. I've got a good story about how not to Christian.
good.
Um this was 6 years ago. I'm guessing 7 years ago. Actually, let's see. It's been 8 or 9. But
Fun flies when you're doing time.
yes, I know. But my roommate three, this happened to her. So my husband's brother and his family are still heavily involved in cult, um, and the IFB movement. And they my oldest nephew, was having his high school graduation. Now we knew it was a religious school, um, and we knew that it was something that it was similar to what we were raised in. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be traumatizing. I don't want to go, but it's my nephew. And I felt like we needed to go support his graduation, even though I knew exactly what it was going to be. It was going to be a lot of, children standing up there quoting Bible verses and reciting those things. And I knew it was going to be a little bit of the crazy that I had grown up in because they were still involved in a church, and this was in New Mexico. And so anyway, we traveled there. It was about 5 hours away. We drove there. And on the invitation, it said, women, please dress appropriately. Men, please dress appropriately. Like that was actually on the invitation. And so I was like, I'm not going in there
But
wearing
but
pants.
but did it define appropriate?
No, well, I don't know. I think it may have said something about skirts, like wear
Okay.
skirts. Okay. So I was like, and I mean, I cannot remember exact wording, but it was definitely like suggested that you dress according to how they dress. Now, granted, this is a graduation. There's people that will come that are not involved in your cult. And so, anyway, I was like, well, I'm just going to wear a dress because I'm not going to even, but my child, who at the time was 12 years old, and she was like, I do not feel comfortable wearing a dress. And I said, you know what? Just wear a nice pair of pants and a top, and it'll be fine. My other two girls wore a dress because they were like, we're wearing a dress. I'm like, fine. My mother-in-law went, my aunt, or my husband's aunt, also went. I mean, there was a big group of us that traveled up there to watch his graduation,
Sure.
even though we knew I knew. I really was the only one who knew what I was getting myself into. Um, but we traveled up there, and my roommate three was like, I am not wearing a dress. I hate dresses. Like, it was just like an insecurity thing for her. And I was like, that's fine. Don't wear a dress. I was like, it'll be fine. We'll just wear something nice. So she did. She had on even this long sweater that was almost to the ground that looked like a dress over these pants and like a nice shirt.
Yeah.
And we walk in, and of course, my husband's brother greets us. He's like, hey, he's so excited we're there. We go in and talk to the family in this little room. There was like all the graduates in there where you could talk to them. And then we go into the service, and you could literally see people whispering about my daughter. And I was like, no, 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 no.
I think you have to clarify too, Liz, that this is a school, not a public school.
Nope, not a public school. It is a school from the church, like what we were raised in. So it was like the
More like
church,
a
there was the IFB church, and then they had a school that you had to go to because public school was a sin. It was terrible to go to a public school. You had to go to the school that they provided, which was, with unaccredited teachers, none of the school's not accredited, basically.
heavy
It's a
biblical
farce.
religious
Yeah.
comes for all the education. Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible education. We experienced that in high school for sure. So we go in, and I said, just sit down. We're just going to sit here with their family and do this. And my brother-in-law comes up and gives my daughter the biggest hug and whispers in her ear and says, is that the only thing you brought to wear? And she was like, yes. And he said, you're going to have to leave. People are not comfortable with you being here. He said that to my 12-year-old daughter. He didn't have the balls to say it to my husband. He didn't have the balls to say it to me. He said it to my 12-year-old daughter. And I lost it at that point, because Haley immediately, roommate three, sorry, starts bawling because she's so upset because she thought he was
As
having
well,
a
she
seizure.
should have.
Yes.
That is
She thought he was
okay.
giving her a big hug because he was so happy to see her. And he says that in her ear and shames her for what she's wearing. And I was like, nope. And so I could see her face, like, because I was right beside her, just fall. And immediately the tears started flowing. And I was like, nope. And she said, he just asked me to leave. And I'm like, oh, hell no. So I said, okay, fine, we're leaving. So we all get up and leave. And he's like, you guys don't have to leave. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I'm not going to let you shame my daughter and then stay in this environment. No, we all got up, walked out. As we're walking out, people are like, why are you saying stuff to my daughter as she's walking out? And I said, you guys are real Christian. Like, great, great way to promote your Christian, activity. Like, this is insane. I was livid. I'm pretty sure I swore a couple times at people.
I was gonna say
I was mad.
I would have been yelling and
Yeah.
screaming.
It was not a calm exodus. I will say that.
Yeah.
I was furious. The first thing was because he had hurt my daughter. Like, and then there was people there. I mean, if he would have said it to me or to my husband, it would have been a little bit different. I still would have been very upset, but it would not have been as bad as if he confronted my young 12-year-old daughter and said that to her while giving her a hug. And she thought he was happy to see her, and she was just devastated. And so, yeah, as we left, there, it was quite the exodus. We definitely made a mark, um, or we made an impression. But I thought, if you're trying to witness to people and you're trying to make them want to join your church or your cult or whatever, the worst thing you can do is do that. Like, we experienced that growing up, but I thought that there was not another place that was as crazy as the one we grew up in. And clearly there was. And so, anyway, it was appalling.
It's
And
all, it's all a disease of control and
yeah,
power and manipulation and really, and I think you and I have talked about this quite a bit about the narcissism at the top and how
yeah,
that overwhelming sensation to police, particularly women's bodies. And it's
yeah,
so pervasive in our culture now, where
yes,
the idea, and I've always said this, America's basic issues are reproduction and production. That's
yeah,
our only problems because we haven't solved either one. And literally, I'm going to use your favorite word. There has no, there is no reason why anyone outside of you individually or your partner or your family should be making any choices about how you produce your life
mm-hmm,
in terms of the family unit and your personal interior nuclear decisions that are made,
uh-huh,
or how you productively go about the world unless it's harming someone else.
yeah,
And that is the definition of harming someone else
mm-hmm,
while shoving your ideology on them. That's the equivalent of like fat shaming on social media. It's the equivalent
yeah,
of violent hate speech.
right,
Because
right,
you are telling someone they are not enough, they
mm-hmm,
don't meet your standards, and
mm-hmm,
because of that, you're being punished and
mm-hmm.
you're excluded from a specific group, which is
Yes,
the antithesis of what Christianity should be, according to the King James Version of our dear Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
yes,
But it's appalling that it has come to right this state because everything about it is not necessarily a bad idea, except for when you're shoving it down everybody's throat
mm-hmm,
and you're trying to make them conform to some standards that are arbitrarily set, typically by a man.
yeah. I think like the situation of us, if it would have been another person in the church that would have come up to Randy or I and said that, it wouldn't have been as hurtful. But because it was a family member, it was worse. I still haven't forgiven them for them. I'll say that. I would
Well,
speak to them if I saw them.
you deserve an apology.
I have seen, oh, absolutely. My daughter deserves an apology.
Oh,
She
sorry.
still remembers that to this day. She'll never forget it.
You
She's
deserve an
devastated.
apology. Yep.
Yep, she was devastated. She was literally just crushed at how that went down, and
She not be.
rightly so.
Yep.
Rightly so. Absolutely. And it could have been handled so differently. I do understand the way they believe. I don't understand it, but I do know that that is. But also, even when we were raised, if you were there on a Sunday night in pants, you were getting yelled at. Um, on a normal day, a Sunday morning or something, people would come in pants. And it might be mentioned from the pulpit, but nobody's going to tell you can't be there because you're wearing pants. So it's mind blowing to me that it went down so ugly and hateful. But that is definition of how not to Christian. Like, literally, let's show a great example of how not to Christian. That's it.
Mm.
Um, Judging somebody else and um literally kicking them out of a graduation ceremony. Like, unbelievable.
There's so many other bigger problems in the world, but we as humans
Absolutely.
on these like microaggressions and microcosms of like how we can control and terrorize and hurt other people. And
Mhm.
it's so not the way that I think you and I are.
Mhm.
And I think, like you said, there's a plenty of people that are not that way.
Yeah.
And that probably have, you know, absolutely every good intention and would be kind and handle that situation properly
Sure.
and would, be gentle and, you know, bring it, to attention in a way that's not hurtful and not shameful and not harmful to her.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just, ugh, it's so appalling. It's so, yeah.
It is. It absolutely is.
If you're listening now, he deserves an apology.
She does deserve an
Good one
apology.
for that.
Oh, I
Anyway,
would literally love to give her an apology. It doesn't help coming from me. It needs to come from
they
someone.
yeah, they certainly owe
Mhm.
that. At the very minimum.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else, Liz? What else we got going on?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Nothing,
There's
nothing news wise. We're still working through our kinks, our little troubles on the YouTube live. Um,
okay.
I'm still
Book
not.
proposal is pretty much done. We are looking for an agent. If you're an agent and wants to reach out to us because we need your help. We're trying to find a publisher and get this book out there because I think it can help people. That is our main goal for this book is to reach at least one person who can help them figure out if they have left a cult or if they are still in a cult, how to get out, how to survive after, all of the things. And we we use a lot of humor in the book to to cover up the trauma because there was so much. But um, we had some very interesting experiences growing up, and our book is good. I think it's going to be a great book. And so anyway, we're looking for someone to publish, and we're looking for an agent. So if you're an agent or you know of one, send us the info, sistersdeclassified@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear from you if you've got questions, comments. I know this was kind of probably a controversial podcast.
A little
Um,
heavy.
yeah, a little heavy,
Got
but
a joke or a funny story for us?
yeah.
I
No,
have
you have one?
um well, so this sort of has to do with the holiday we just had, which this will be out way after that. But
Okay.
for our family video, we usually do like a little family video every year because we're so spread out across different states and everything. So
Sure.
we
Yep.
can't get together. We for the last 4 or 5 years, I guess we've
Yeah,
done
probably.
some silly challenger video so we kind of can compile it and have like a little
Mm-hmm.
end of the year thing or whatever. And this year we were trying to figure out what to do. So I think we landed on 12 Days of Christmas again. But my suggestion was that we do it with the like wackiest or weirdest Snapchat filter you can find.
Right.
So my funny story is on Thanksgiving Day, mom and her husband we were sitting around doing a puzzle and just talking and stuff. And mom wasn't sure how to use Snapchat. She'll like go on there, but she doesn't like she's not recorded any video. She doesn't know how to really use it. She just like watches what the kids send her and stuff, or me or you. And so I was giving her a tutorial on how to use the Snapchat filters. And we sat on the couch for probably like 15-20 minutes and we were peeing our pants crying. Mom could not stop laughing. It was fun. And so we were playing around with the voice changers, and she could not get through like just talking because she
That's
was
so
there
funny.
giggling so hard at the phone that she would just shake and she's trying to finish the sentence.
Uh,
It was
That's so
fantastic.
funny. That's
So,
amazing.
anyway, that was my funny anecdotal story because it's hysterical when you're
Yeah.
boomer parents, that's what she is. figure out social media and learn how to
Uh-huh.
use it or abuse it. I don't know what the term is. All right. We got to wrap
Yeah.
this up. I got to get to work.
Yep, me too.
All right. So find us sistersdeclassified at gmail.com, at Elizabeth Humble on YouTube Live.
Bye. Have a great rest of your week.
Bye.